are live. We got Harry W. We got Richie from Jets Media, Matt O'Leary, Iowa Jets fan, in the house. We got Dom C in the house. We got Steve, live, CEO of the Jet Lounge. So I knew I'd get rich on my channel. See what's going on. Yeah, there we go. Woo.
Jets by $1 million today.
Yeah. I like Hutchinson the best, and I don't think Linderbaum is worth a top 10 pick. Thibodeau slipped, and I am going to grab Thibodeau. The Giants took Khalil Elam. Good for them. Kenyon Green is a guarantee in my mind. He would be such a dream pick right here. Evan Neal is still on the board. I'm not going to pick this out. That 44 pick could be tight end. That 44 pick could be a good linebacker, a good safety. We could drop back one pick and pick up a second rounder from New Orleans. We got options. Hello and welcome to a Saturday night special. The real special. There was some other guy doing some Saturday special, but that's not special. He's not special. I'm special. And I mean that in the most special of special ways special. Like hitting the head with the coconut years ago. Not right in the head. Special. But anyway, I just hit my mic. I hope that didn't hurt anybody's head or do anything bad. My brother is in D.C. having dinner with Lady Double. I don't know what the hell that means. Lady Double, I would say that. Oh, Lady Double Chaos. That would be my sister-in-law. Twisted. You got it. You are twisted, man. What is up? Let's see who's in the chat here. Let's go. Oh, I'm trying to chat on the YouTube thing, and that doesn't work. I have to actually do it in StreamYard. So let me look. And you see, we got my brother. We got Tigo being a wise guy. Twisted was first in line. He couldn't wait. But R&R said, well, I'll give him his first like. We'll see how you like that. And gave me thank you for that. Tigo, the wise guy. My brother, that's him. He's the improv man. That is really just Lee Cravat. Having dinner in D.C. Did you go to get some chili dogs? There's some good chili dogs in D.C. at Ben's Chili Bowl. And that's right. I'm not going to put that up yet because I try to monetize this show. But yeah, that's right. I'm effing bald. Like Mike is effing white and Chaos is effing bald. What is up? That is Leah Cravat, my niece. She's my youngest of 3 nieces. The youngest of 3. And we have Buffalo Jets fan. Yes, you're blind. Let me shine on you, crazy diamond. Let's see. Donnie Discipline. I'm just joking. Disciplo. What's going on? Don Disapio. I can't read. It's not that I don't know how to read letters and do phonics and all that good stuff for reading. It's because I'm blind. And no matter how many times I replace these stinking glasses, 6 months later I'm blinder. I actually asked the doctor, the guy who does my glasses. He's really funny. He's this Chinese man who does inappropriate Chinese and Jewish jokes. I think he feels that it's okay for him to do Jewish jokes with me if he throws in some Chinese jokes also. But anyway, every time I see him, I say, am I going blind? Like, dude, do I have to be nervous? Because how bad can somebody's eyesight get? But anyway, all that so I could just read this. Thanks for being here. You had to turn your brightness down. What are you talking about? Oh, for the shaved head. You guys are just going at it, huh? You guys are just having a field day at my expense, aren't you now? Aren't you? Randilla is here. What's going on, Randilla? Do you feel naked? This show is PG. You look, I'm lazy. I wish I could just put a chemical on my head and face and no more hair. But I'm lazy. Nobody knows that. I'm not growing in beards on purpose. I'm just lazy. And then I woke up and I had a dream that I looked like Greenbeard. And I said, no. And I just started shaving. And, one of the ways I trimmed it down without too much irritation was I used I use some product. I use some products. You know what I mean? Like I use my weed whacker. I used my Manscaped razor thing. This is not a promotion, by the way. I'm not paid by them. I just happen to have their stuff, and I like using it. But they're actually going to make stuff specifically for beards and things like that. And I'm excited about that because sometimes I like to leave in parts like the goatee. And the reasons I don't, and the things I don't like about doing it is I don't have a product that's very easy to use. It makes it easy. I'm hoping that that's going to answer all my problems when they come up with that new stuff. So anyway, here we go. We're here to talk about some Jets, right? Some people already left because they're like, I thought this was a show about the Jets. So I think we better actually start talking about the Jets. So here we go. Here's something I noticed. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think Jet fans are being a little overconfident. I mean, and for good reason. I think we see that we're a real team now. We're a good team, and we feel we can win any game, and that's great. And then I think on the other hand, we're going against on the road in a dome, loud stadium, against a team that's 9-2. Oh, there's a mimosa. Oh, it's Saturday night mimosa. Thank you, honey. Saturday night mimosa. Cheers, everybody. Wasn't in the mood this morning, but I'll drink now. Yummy. Thanks.
Good ratio?
Yes. Anyway, look, we're 7-4, trying to go 8-4. They're 9-2, and we're on the road. So being confident we're going to win, I'm confident we're going to compete and have a good chance to win. I think it's a winnable game. I do. But I caught myself. I said, wow, I wasn't even being silly. Green Bean asked me for a prediction on the show Thursday night, and I hadn't really thought about score, and I just came up with 31-16. And I got to tell you, I don't think it's so crazy, but at the same time, I'm like, how could I be so confident we're going against the team that's won a lot of games, that's really good? But I think about it, and am I crazy, or do I think we match up well against them? I mean, their strength is offense. And I kind of feel like what we struggle against is defense. Like when we play against really great defensive teams, that's where we struggle. Maybe because of young quarterbacks, maybe because of injuries on our offensive line. So you get exposed. But when we play a team that doesn't not have a scary defense, I don't really worry as much. I mean, obviously, we got to worry about Justin Jefferson and Delvin Cook, and they're good players, and Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. But that's our strength. That's our strength. If our defense is for real, we stop teams that are good offensively. And we did against Buffalo, right? They're a great offensive team, and we stopped them. Last year, week 6, we beat Cincinnati because we could stop even that, and we were so much better on defense now. So we can do this. We could do this. Jerry Shore is out. The Vikings offensive line is very questionable. This could be another 5 to 8 sack game for us. 5, 6 sacks, 7 sacks, who knows? And, and last week it wasn't going great. We didn't have a lot of sacks for the first quarter and a half. What's going on? We're not getting sacks. And then we wore them down, and we started getting sacks. So sometimes it doesn't happen in the first quarter, first couple of drives. They're very good. That's when they're going to be their most dangerous, probably, in the beginning of the game. And if you start off great on defense, then at some point, they're going to get dangerous. At some point, they're going to do something, right? We're not going to shut them out, I don't think. I would love it if we did. But at some point, they're going to do something because they're good. They're legit. They got one of the best, maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL, arguably the best. They've got a very real quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Now, he's not the biggest threat. I think the reason people don't take Minnesota as serious and where they're not talking about Super Bowl is because Kirk Cousins' issue is not regular season, regular games. His issue is the games, right? Then all of a sudden you see the interceptions and he's always falling short. But that's not what this is for them. It's not even a divisional game. They're 9-2. It's not a high pressure game for them. So it's either gonna not a high pressure game, so we're gonna crush them because they're not really gonna come out as hungry as we are, or they're gonna be relaxed and Kirk Cousins is not gonna make many mistakes. I think we're gonna cause some mistakes. I think we're gonna get to him. I think we're gonna hit him. I think we're gonna make life really hard for him. That's what I think. But so I have this feeling of confidence that we're gonna win this game. I kind of feel like that. Look, I can't even do this show because all I see in the chat is the obsession over my baldness. I don't understand. I've been bald for a year doing this channel. Why now? That means I went way too long without shaving. That's what that means. So look, I think we're going to win. I think we have a good chance to win. I really feel it. I'm not even saying it like last year I was saying it because I was a Jet fan. But deep down, if you held a gun to my head, there's no way I was taking the Jets in almost any game. But now I really believe we can beat them. I believe that we're going to score lots of points on them. Like, I think we're going to be able to run the ball a lot. I think they're going to be exciting plays. I think Mike White is going to do what he does. In the words of Robert Saleh, he's going to make the easy look easy, and he's going to take what the defense gives him. I think that's what he's going to do. And I think that Bam Knight is for real. I think we got another running back. As crazy as that might seem, I think we have another running back in Bam Knight. I do. I don't think it was a fluke. I know the Bears defense wasn't great. I'm not saying Bam Knight is going to rush an average over 6 yards a carry his entire career. I'm not saying that. I just think that the kid's got talent. I think he's the real deal. And I think going up against a team like Minnesota, he should have another good game. And I think James Robinson's pissed off and he's active, right? So he might have a really good game. And I think Ty Johnson showed us something. I think he showed us what the coaching staff always knew. That when this kid pieces it together, he can play. And what's really interesting about Ty Johnson is he's pass protecting and run and blocking really well. And that's surprising. And that's why you're seeing him when we say, why is Ty Johnson in there? It's because Breece Hall was really our only good pass protecting running back until now. Because Ty Johnson's good at that. And I think James Robinson, when he's healthy, is actually good at it also. So, look, I don't feel weak at running back this game, even though we don't have Michael Carter and Breece Hall. As insane as that is, I think James Robinson is good and solid. I think it's more our offensive line. The fact that our offensive line is so much healthier makes me feel confident. And then, when you consider that you got this kid Bam Knight who's young and like just full of energy and wanting to prove himself, you have Ty Johnson on what I think was the best game of his career last week. I really do. I think it was the best game of his career. And James Robinson, who's pissed off and wants to show that he's somebody, I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to run the ball effectively. And I think that's going to force them to keep men in the box. And I think it's going to allow Mike White to do what he does, which is nothing heroic, nothing crazy, but it's going to allow him to take what the defense gives him in the passing game. And we have so many weapons that someone's always open. That should be, that should be our thing. SAO, SAO. That's what the Jets are. The Jets are SAO. Someone's always open. It's true. Someone's always open. Why? Because we have Elijah Moore. We have Garrett Wilson. We have Corey Davis. We have Conklin. We have guys that can run routes. And believe it or not, this is not popular opinion with everybody. We actually have kind of a good offensive coordinator. And I think in a few years, people will look back and appreciate that, even though not everybody sees it right now. London Jets fan. That's new. I haven't seen you in the chat, have I? Hey, Jeremy, love your content. We are going to know with the Vikings and Bills with Mike White. Wow. He got us covered. It's interesting, I get the Mike White will get us through the Vikings. So a lot of people are pissed off because they were saying, hey, this is the 2 games Zach could have done it. But, yeah, the way he played. Buffalo presents a problem because we're going to be playing in Buffalo and they're going to want revenge and they're going to be playing for a lot. They're going to be playing for a lot. So they know the ramifications of the game. They know that that means we'll have 2 wins on them, and a tie puts them in jeopardy of losing the division to us. Yet alone, they're in a race with Miami. Buffalo's not going to come into the game unprepared. They're going to be ready for a war. It's a playoff game for them. I'm not saying we can't win that game, but I'm saying I'm going to focus on the Vikings right now and not have to think about that game till Wednesday. I don't want to think about that game. But London, I love your confidence, and I hope you're right. Because let me tell you something. If we beat, even I was going to say beating the Vikings. If we beat the Vikings tomorrow, we're a playoff team. I'm not saying that means we're guaranteed to make the playoffs, even though the chances will be very good. I'm saying we are legitimate. Like, we're not a joke. We're not some team that stumbled in that someone doesn't have to worry about. If we beat Minnesota, people have got to start turning their heads and saying, holy shit, this team is for real. Right? I mean, it's every week it's a different excuse of why we're not for real. What's the excuse going to be if we go into Minnesota and beat them? What's the excuse going to be? There's always going to be someone will come up with it. There'll be some excuse. But I think most people are going to turn their head and say, holy shit. So not only are we going to have a chance for the playoffs, we beat the Vikings, and suddenly people are worried about playing against us. Suddenly we're not such a good draw. And you don't think Miami will worry about that? You know that even their fans will have a little bit of concern, like, wow, they just went and beat the Bills in Buffalo. Maybe that last game of the season is not the lock that we think it is. Maybe. But then we can't get cocky. Like, if we were to pull that off and beat Minnesota and Buffalo, my biggest fear is we'd sleep against Jacksonville and Detroit and Seattle. Like, we'd sleep. We'd fall asleep. That's my fear. Like, that can't happen. We still have to beat Jacksonville, Seattle, Detroit. We have to win those games. How could that be? I thought we only have 6 games left. No. After this, 7 games left. Okay. All right. Tony Alexio says SOS. I think I'm going to interpret what this means. I think that SOS means get Strevler in there. That's what I think he's trying to say. Holy blindness. Yes. I tried to dim the lights a little, but the top light is right there on my head. I can't help it. Wow. Okay. Twisted's very happy that Mike White is in there and that we could score some points now, I think. That's his take. Don't worry, Matt B will be here to fight you soon enough. We play ball like we did last week, and the D is awake in the first half. We should be good. I agree. But it's going to mean more. I don't want to hear any more crap. If Mike White has a great game, it's like it can't be like this nonsense about the Chicago and everyone was hurt. Okay, but what we're going to do is if Mike White has a great game against Minnesota, what we're going to do is we're going to compare his numbers to every other quarterback against Minnesota. Because I'm sick of everybody searching for reasons to prove he's not good instead of just being happy. It drives me crazy. I feel bad for Zach, but if Mike White could be our franchise quarterback, then so be it. Yeah, I mean, that's just it's kind of the way it is. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I mean, he's a long way from proving he could be our franchise quarterback. It's a long way, right? Because we will admit that much. Beating Chicago, it's a long way. But if it was to happen, then so be it. That's the way it is. Although we'll have to pay him by the end of the year. Maybe we get a good deal because maybe he doesn't have that long to prove he's for real. So it's not like people can be lining him up to pay $35 million. Maybe if he rocks us into the playoffs, maybe we pay him $20, $25 million a year and we get a steal for the next 4 years. Who knows? Yep, there you go. He wants Streveler. Okay. Mike Whitehead. Mike Whirlwind? Mike? See how blind I am? Mike Whirlwind White. Whirlwinds, huh? You want to give him a new nickname. How about Mike Wall Street White? Oh, my God. Rendilla. Whisperer White. You want me to make a poll? It's really hard to make a poll during the show. Like it's not, and it is. Like in other words, it's hard to make a poll because I'm in StreamYard. So I'd have to go into the YouTube thing. I mean, actually, I could. I guess I can go right across here. But there's like a delay. You know what I mean? Like, can I wait until like Dom C if he comes later or somebody else joins the show? And then I could do it while they're talking. But it's hard when it's just me talking to do a poll. You know what I mean? It's not easy. I'm trying to figure it out. I think you have to go into YouTube. It's a big pain in the neck. It's not easy. But if I can, I will a little later. Okay, well, now I lost my mouse cursor. You say I hate extended screen. I hate it. Jets. Yeah, man, I definitely thought that a fresh shave would help for the game. I did want to be in the stadium because sometimes I like to use my head to distract the other team's quarterback. So if I was in Minnesota, I would angle my head to deflect the light. It's really a good mimosa. I like it. It's very nice. I don't feel like I'm drinking champagne, even though I can taste it. The orange juice just cuts it so perfectly. Like, and it's just like you don't even feel you're drinking alcohol, but you get the nice little fuzziness, the little the bubbles. It's nice. Kirk will be the excuse. Let's watch. You think Kirk Cousins will be the excuse that we win? How could that be? Yeah, by the way, it's how is it almost our birthday? Do we have the same birthday? Did we discover that we both had the same birthday at one point and I forgot? I'm sorry if that's the case. That would be 12/10. Every time I always know because my best friend his birthday is November 26th. So it's always exactly 2 weeks before mine. And I always know because of him the day it's going to be my birthday. And I always know that means that's when Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve is. So my birthday is always aligned with New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, and my best friend's birthday growing up, who's 2 weeks ahead of me. It's kind of cool. So I know that I have a Saturday birthday this year. A Saturday birthday. It's neat. It's a good thing to have a Saturday birthday. I mean, I hate working on my birthday. I hate it because I don't care about people. Like some people say, oh, you want to be at work so everyone can wish you a happy birthday. You get all the attention. No. I want to be home on my birthday so I can order a Old World Giovanni's pizza, 18-inch pie, closest thing I have to Brooklyn, so I can just munch on pizza and stuff. That's what I want for my birthday. Just want to eat pizza and be left alone. So, I don't think we've heard Talking with Tigo live this week at all, right? Has he been live at all this week? Huh. Let me see here. Hope Tom C doesn't mind, but I don't think we've heard from Tigo at all. That's kind of crazy. Kind of like to hear what the little fella has to say. Hey, Tigo, I don't know. You might want to watch my broadcast of the coverage of the World Cup because one of the players I named after you. Like every time this one specific player on the U.S. got the ball, I said, and Tigo got the ball and he's pushing forward. But don't worry, there was a green bean on our team. There was a Frankie on our team. There was even a Buffalo Jet fan on the team. There was a good-looking guy. I said, that's Buffalo. He's the good-looking one. Okay, so what is that? Buffalo has to be that guy for us, like to prove that there's a good-looking Jets content provider. So when we meet up in groups and go against the other content providers for other teams, we have our good-looking guy. Yeah, we got Buffalo Jet fan, good-looking guy. Okay, let's see. I'm so nuts. There you go, buddy. There you go. John Hepburn is in the house. What is up, brother? How you doing? I met John Hepburn. Sir at Coney Island. He popped in. He said, hey, Cass, I'm John Hepburn. And we got to see him. It was cool. Oh, look, he's here. Let's go inside. Oh, that's so funny. I had no idea Buffalo was here when I was saying any of that. I must go inside the YouTube. I know that's a pain in the neck for the survey, right? You got to have someone here to hold the fort. You know, if Lee was still watching, he's eating dinner. If Lee was like in the hotel, I could ask him to do it because he could go in because he's got rights into my YouTube, so he can get in there and figure out in the chat how to ask a survey. It's right up here. Like I have it open. I just don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what to do. It's not on top where the comments are. Like where's the option to do a survey? I just don't see it. Man, look how fast this guy is. And he just can't wait. Okay. Okay, guys. We're gonna bring a truly good-looking guy into the chat. Who's more likely to score a touchdown, TJ Hawkinson or Conklin? Conklin, man. Conklin. Our linebackers aren't going to give that shit up. Come on. The Mosa is very good. Thank you, honey. Okay. So, guys, I got a surprise for you. Let's see. Okay, we'll do it the right way. I was going to be lazy, but we're not going to jip them. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not a tall man. He's not a big man. He's not a strong man. But he's a great dad. He's a great dad. And although he drinks a lot of caffeine, he's, you don't drink a lot of caffeine? Well, he's very quirky. He's a quirky man. He's an opinionated man. He is a man that predicted Max Mitchell was going to be our best offensive lineman, or eventually, or even be at a great level right away. He did. He predicted that, and it happened. It happened. He is what are you? The greatest prognosticator in the world! No.
What's going on, Jeremy? Long time.
It's been a while.
Yes, it has. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, it's like one of those kind of things. On Saturdays, it's rainy here in Sacramento, which means we didn't do anything, which sometimes is a good thing to not do anything because you know?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. It's like one of those, I had the opposite of those days. Got a lot of stuff done. But like it's always nice to be like, you know what? I didn't do anything today. And sometimes you have those days and it's just a good time.
Yeah. It's just a relaxing day, you know. Then Green Bean went on and talked some smack about me, you know, so there was that, you know. So and here we are. We're just what are we? We're about 15 and a half hours away from game time.
Yep. This game to me is one of the games that like I'm most like, I don't want to say nervous because I think we can win this game, right? But it's a game that has me on edge because I feel like this is a trap game for one of the two teams. Either it's going to be a Minnesota trap game because they're going to go in like really, really cocky and like expecting, oh, it's the Jets, and then we win the game like that. Or it's going to be, and the biggest reason I'm scared is like the Mike White Buffalo game. And I'm just like, please no, please God, no. Oh no. Just give us Chicago Bears Mike White. Like that's all I want.
Yeah. I mean, if we get Chicago Bears Mike White, it's going to be...
We win the game.
Yeah, it's very hard to lose. I mean, with our defense, I don't care how good their offense is, our defense is not going to get run over, especially if we have a quarterback playing well to sustain long drives. You know it's going to be at worst down to the wire. But if Mike White has the Bears Mike White, means that any mistake by Minnesota, and then that's it. We got the game.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other thing is like when you have the X factor of all X factors at wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, who can literally in one play turn the entire game on its head. You know what I mean? Like it almost looked like Minnesota was out of that Buffalo game, and then he stole a cornerback's soul by one-handed yanking the ball out of the guy's hands. It's just like, I understand that it's going to be, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in football versus the best corner in football in Sauce. But like with the rules and how they're created, and it's so unfairly set up to the wide receivers. And I know Sauce is going to do everything in his power to cover him, and DJ and all that stuff. JJ's that good. He truly scares me, man.
Part of me is like, yeah, I'm worried about him for sure, because as good as Sauce is, it's what you're saying. I mean, look, Justin Jefferson is a special kind of talent, right? I mean, and I don't care how good your cornerback is. Like, it's gonna, if you give Minnesota the ball too much, like if we don't control the ball and possession, and you give him too many chances, he's definitely going to hurt us. But what I'm trying to remember is that we're not going to shut him down, right? The expectation isn't we're going to shut him down, but we can contain him.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we can shut him down. I mentioned this earlier in one of my videos, which is like the blueprint to beating Minnesota, specifically for the Jets, are the two teams that beat Minnesota this year, because defensively they kind of match up with what we're trying to do, right? Like if you look at the Eagles, like what are they? They have a really solid pass rush. They don't have anyone at this point in time that I would consider as like a superstar on that pass rush, unless I'm forgetting a name. But they've got really, really elite corners, and they not only do they create coverage sacks, but they create, pressure, like bad passes, like pressure interceptions and stuff like that. And Philly beat them that way. And then if you look at the Dallas game, they were able to dominate on the defensive line, which is something that the Jets can do, which helped their corners. And they have an elite corner in Trayvon Diggs, but they were able to, contain Justin Jefferson. And those are the only games this year where he didn't have more than 50 yards, And so I think the Jets can do that. Absolutely. And like the blueprint is there. It exists. I know we can do it. Still doesn't change the fact that he's still one of the scariest threats in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's scary. And the other thing is what's also nerve-wracking is it might be easy to forget. It might be easy to forget Cook, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, they got a dangerous running back, and it's not like we've never been hurt by running backs. I mean, we've been on a good roll lately, but let's remember, last year in the first 5 or 6 games of this year, we were getting killed by running backs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can't forget about that. And plus, he's dangerous, coming out of the backfield as a receiver. And if we're pressuring Kirk Cousins, we might see that. He might be flicking the ball over to Cook. So we've got to watch out for that.
Especially because, like, since the trading for TJ Hawkinson, Minnesota has used has been really good between the numbers, like in the sense of like getting TJ the ball open up the middle and getting Dalvin Cook the ball open up the middle, and just Adam Thielen in the slot and KJ Osborne, and getting their guys involved up the middle of the field. And like, whether or not I believe in this team and I like what I'm seeing from this team, it doesn't change the fact that the place where I think we're really weak in coverage is up the middle. I don't know what to expect when our linebackers are dropping into coverage. I don't know what to expect when our, like safeties are asked to cover. And it's one of those things where they've done good things for us, but I can't forget the first 3 games, right? I remember every single one of us wanted to punt LaMarcus Joyner to the moon, and every once in a while you still see that LaMarcus Joyner. Every once in a while you still see how did Adam put it? Where Jordan Whitehead forgets to tackle and he just goes, what this was the Adam move, right? Like, it's just one of those things where it's just like that stuff still comes out in games. Every once in a while, we just forget how to tackle. And it's just like a team like Minnesota where they're elite at specific positions, right? Like they've got one elite player at every skill position, an elite wide receiver, an elite tight end, an elite running back. you can't do those stupid little mistakes. And I can't also unsee the Bears first half. Like, what happens if this defense comes off slow? You can't let Minnesota get ahead. They're just too good offensively. I believe in this team, and I really, really think that we are going to win this game. I think that just ultimately speaking, we're better. We match up against them really good. Is not we're better. I think we match up against them really, really well. It doesn't change the fact that they have game wreckers on their team, and you always got to worry about the game wrecker.
Yeah, look, that's the thing that, like, if you're going to look at the side of it that can go wrong, what could go wrong is they get a couple of holds on us. They stop our offense. They get us off the field first couple of times because that happens.
Yep.
And that they, like you said, we start off a little slow. We miss some tackles. Cook goes off on us. Jefferson goes off on us. Whoever else goes off on us. And the next thing you know, we're down. And if we're down, that changes the whole matchup because then they're not under the pressure to pass. And then they can easily, put a, more conservative offense in place, which actually works better against us. Like, we want you to go big against us. We want you to drop back and try to air it out against us. That's what we want. We don't want a team to be forced to do running plays and screen passes and short stuff because that's what we don't like defending. And it also takes away the sacks and it takes away those opportunities. And William Justice is very optimistic about the defense, and I could see the game going like this. I have absolutely no problem seeing this as a very strong and real possibility that we get 4+ sacks and 2 interceptions. No problem seeing that at all. We're number 3 in the NFL in interceptions, believe it or not. I saw that. I think it's true, and that freaked me out. I was like, really? Because last year we probably had 1 interception in the first 8 games, right? So
the other thing I remember you tweeted about it where I said I think I might have to do this super hot fire take. I think he's being really conservative with 4+ sacks, honestly, against the fact that they don't have Darisaw and they're playing a guy that's given up 4 sacks in 3 games, at least 1 sack a game at left tackle, and the fact that they are the worst interior offensive line unit in the NFL. And we have, in my estimation, I haven't looked at the numbers to back this up, but in my estimation, I think we have the best interior defensive line group in the NFL once you've added Sheldon Rankins back into the mix, right? Because Q and Rankins are two. Q is the best interior defensive lineman in the league, and Sheldon Rankins, I think, is definitely playing as one of the top 15 guys in the league. And they're giving up so much pressure. I went way too big in my estimation of it. And I said, I think this is going to be the first time this year we get a 10+ sack game, because if their D-line can't, and the fact that Carl Lawson, for some reason, likes to go off in December and January. Like, he just turns something on differently in December and January, and he's hard to stop. So there's a lot of things that are going in our direction or going in our favor when it comes to, this D-line versus their O-line. I really hope that we just absolutely ruin Kirk Cousins' day. Because if Kirk Cousins gets upset and he's mad, he just doesn't play well at all. Right. And he starts making stupid little mistakes. And if we can get him to make these stupid little mistakes, we should just be able to annihilate them.
Right, which would be great.
Fantastic. Sign me up.
Just get him shaken up, get him unhappy, affect him, in a very negative way, and there you go. But at the same time, it's not always easy to do that.
Obviously.
Matt B has a very negative feeling and vibe. He has all week. I think it has to do. I think it has to do with that. In his minds, our best quarterback is not playing. In his minds, we're down to a backup quarterback, and that's a weakness for us, and that we should have Zach in there. This is how he feels. That's fine. And he also he's saying all kinds of things. He thinks Jefferson's gonna score 2 touchdowns and have over 100 yards. He thinks that, Cook is going to eat us for lunch because Stevenson was breaking tackles, so he thinks Cook is going to eat us up. I mean, he really is bumming me out, to be honest. And he's making me feel a little nauseous. So, and I don't like that too much. Can we be? Can somebody be a little positive right now? London, say hello to all the UK Jets gang or gang Jets UK gang. I always forget the name, but say hello to Ant and all those guys. I assume you're friends with them, and if you're not staying because it's getting late, I understand. But thanks for being here for the first part.
I'm curious if he is still here. Which game takes priority, the England game or the Jets game? Because they're like at the same time. Like, do you care? Like, because like England versus Senegal is like if England doesn't win that, like they don't deserve it, right? So like you can like have that on the background. Like, which game do you focus on being from England? You know, because like I know today or not today, yesterday. The whole world stopped when Brazil was playing. Like I shut everything off. I was like, don't call me, don't text me. Me and the baby are watching the game. That's it. And then I saw the lineup and I was like, oh, it's like we're not trying to win. And then I kind of, zoned out.
Yeah. So Playro Arisabo comes in like a knight in shining armor and makes me feel a little bit better by saying the Jets will win 35-17. And guess what? That means that Matt B's predictions can come true. Maybe Justin Jefferson will get 2 touchdowns and 120 yards. Maybe Cook will have a really good game and go for 100 yards. And maybe the Vikings will score 17 points because of that, but the Jets will score 35. So.
It's like a lot of people mention it, and someone else, Billy mentioned it, and I've been mentioning this all week, which is they've won some close games against bad teams, right? And he listed off a bunch of them, and it's absolutely true. This year, I think they've been in like more one-score games than like anybody in the NFL, like Detroit, New Orleans, Chicago, Miami, now. Washington, Buffalo, New England. They've been in 6 one-score games across all of the games that they've been playing. And it's just like, of that being said, like, what do you take out of it? Do you take the fact that, they are only beating these bad teams by 1 scores? The Lions by 4, the Saints by 3, the Bears by 7, the Commanders by 3. Or are you, and this is the Commanders before Heineke, I believe. This wasn't the Heineke-led Commanders. I still think Carson Wentz was in. I don't remember.
Right. No, I think maybe so. I think this may have been the bad Commander.
No. This was Heineke. Okay. I just looked it up. He had two touchdowns and interception.
But was right when he first started playing? Because the Commanders only recently started playing very well.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Right here. It was Heineke's 3rd game as the starter because they went off of Wentz after the Chicago game. And they moved Heineke in week 7, and their Minnesota matchup was week 9. So they had just come off of 3 wins.
But the bottom line is that they're not blowing teams out. The Commanders, even the good Commanders that they've been, I'm not afraid of them. I think the Jets are a better team. If we were playing the Commanders, I'd expect to win. Yep. So I could see that Billy's bringing up some really good points. These look, they haven't been dominant. They might be a little bit better version, but kind of like similar to the Giants, right? The Giants are winning all these games, but we were looking at who they were beating, and it was kind of like, okay, and they got some good wins in there, but it was like, did you really believe it? And
but there's a double-edged sword to that, right? Because there's that one side of the sword where it says, but they're beating these bad teams barely, right? But then there's the other side of it, which is when it comes down to it and they need to be clutch and they need to just go and win a game, they are doing it constantly.
Right.
Like it's that double-sided, it's a double-sided like coin there where it's just like, yes, they're barely beating bad teams, but they're still beating them.
Well, they're finding ways to win.
They're finding ways to win at the end. I think the magic number is 18 points. If you can hold them to 18, you should win.
That's what I think too. I think if we hold them in the 17 or below range, we're going to win. But it's interesting. I think that's how I have been seeing it all week. It's not that I don't think they're a threat. It's not like I'm cocky and think, oh, we got this easy win. It's more that I just think what we're saying. Like, I don't see any reason why it's not winnable. Like, we're going to compete with them. They're not blowing teams away. Like, we're going to be competitive. There's no reason why, unless we have a shit game, there's no reason why we shouldn't be very competitive in this game. Our defense is legit. We know that. And when you have a legitimate defense and you're playing against a team that's mostly offense and not a very good defense, it's a good matchup.
Yeah.
Because defense usually wins out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that's going on in the chat right now, and I agree with it. Like, I've said this all week, and I think that, like, when you look at record, like, record is not indicative of a team being good. And Billy says it right here. I absolutely agree with this take. I was about to say, put this one up. Yeah. I think they are a 6-5 team disguised as a 9-2 team. Like, that's just the reality of it. In the same way that I look at Philly and I say Philly with not a cupcake schedule is 7-4. Like, that's what their record should be. They are a 7-4 team that got really lucky and played a lot of bad teams. Now, Minnesota's played some legitimate teams. Like, they played Miami, but I think they match up against Miami incredibly well because it's two insanely high-flying offenses and no defense. And so they just got into, like, a points race, and whoever messed up first was going to be the team that lost out. And Miami messed up because they had Teddy Bridgewater under center. They didn't have Tua, and that's it. Like, Buffalo, I'll give you the Buffalo game. That was probably the best game we'll see all year, honestly. Like, that was such a good game. But how many things had to go wrong for Buffalo and right for Minnesota for them to win that game? You know what I mean? Like, is that a real win? In the end, win, loss doesn't matter. But, like, I just don't look at them as a team that I'm super scared of. There are players that I'm scared of, but the Minnesota Vikings, like, I think we should win this game.
You know, like, if you would have told me on paper, just hearing it, the Minnesota Vikings beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, I'd say, holy shit, they're for real and everything. But I watched that game, and I was not scared of the Vikings because of that win. Like, they did not scare me. Justin Jefferson scared me.
Yes. Jesus, that catch.
Right.
I showed my wife that catch. Like, that's how good that catch was. And she was even like, Jesus Christ.
It's the kind of catch that'll be top 3 for the season. You know, like when they do the top catches of the season, that'll be right there on the top. But one point I want to make about this, though, even if it's true that they're a 6-5 team in disguise, that's still a 6-5 team, and we're playing in their house.
Oh, yeah.
So by no means does that make it easy for us.
No.
Right?
Like I said, especially
easy game. Especially because some of our wins are suspect. Some people would say, look who the quarterback, guys were hurt. You were playing against teams at their weakest, so people would throw that right back in our face. So, but I think what we could all agree with, and I think what we all do agree with, is it's a winnable game. Like, I think that it's not the normal 9-2. We're going on the road. We're already counting it as a loss. I think we're all going in really hungry for a win here, and will not be understanding if we don't get it. I think we're going in with the expectation of we need this game, we're going to win this game, and not feeling like we're this heavy underdog.
Yeah.
But, so.
And I think the big thing that, like, people are really underestimating, first off, Randilla, you are correct. Patrick Peterson did pick off Buffalo twice. But the one thing that I think people are really, really, really underestimating is that we have 6 games left, the New York Jets, right? And we have 7 wins right now. We're a 7-4 team. And a lot of people keep talking about the magic number being 10. We need to go 500 over the next 6 games, and we'll be in the playoffs. And I absolutely think that's not true. I think we do not make the playoffs with 10 wins. The AFC is that good that 10 wins doesn't make the playoffs, I don't think.
Well, I think how you cut it, we have to, in our heads, like, in our minds, mentally think it takes 11. 10 and 10.
I actually think it'll take 11.
No. But you have to think like that. And if you get in with 10, as Greenbean would say, you have to look at it as it's a gift. It's a gift. So, like, we have to think about it as, like, yes, in my mind, I'm counting the schedule and looking for 11 wins. Now, I got something I got to do right now. Okay. We have somebody waiting to come in. So, special person.
I love this guy.
This man is the man we need to hear from, because he comes with a totally different perspective. He comes from the perspective of a guy who watches hours of film. So he's going to give us the perspective of somebody who's watched all that film, to tell us what he's seeing, to tell us what he's feeling. He's not a guy that's going to sugarcoat it. He's not a guy that's going to lie to you to make you feel good. He's going to tell you how it is. He's the hat wearing, daddy take care of his sick boy loving, go to the Jet game, share his parking pass with you, share his tickets with you, share everything with you. He's the greatest, most generous man in the world. Tom, see.
Gentlemen,
What's going on?
how goes it? How are you guys?
I'm
What's up, chat?
fantastic.
How you doing,
So
man?
happy to be back on a show with you. It's been so long, Dom.
Man, I tell you, it has been a while, guys.
It feels like a while to me.
Yeah. Things are just busy. Things are good. Jet season's good. Kids' sports are good.
Love
Life's
it.
good, man.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You have a nice Saturday?
We did. We actually I had 15 10-year-old boys here for a belated birthday party for my son, my oldest, who we just had a run of fall craziness and busyness, and then we all got sick. So finally we were able to get the kids over here, and it was fun, man. 15 10-year-old boys played football in the backyard, played kickball. They made Sundays,
Sounds like a
They-
blast.
They played. I beat all their asses one by one in Madden. They don't,
Yes.
with no and I gave zero zero leniency on any of them.
Drop 50 on them.
That's it. Go for two every time just because.
Fullback dive never fails.
Yeah.
That's my go-to 2-point conversion.
So
Now
we're looking
Dom,
forward to tomorrow, man.
Dom, you've been listening to this. I know you've been listening for a while now. You've been hearing the things we're saying, and I know you've got to have some thoughts to some of the things we were saying. So let's give you the floor. Like, respond to some of the things you heard tonight. How are you feeling?
So I'm feeling, I guess I can hop on kind of the narrative that everyone's talking about. I feel very, very eerily confident about the game tomorrow. Okay. There's a lot of reasons why I shouldn't, or a lot of reasons why you can say there should be a lack of confidence, let's call a spade. We're down to our, technically our backup quarterback, our third and fourth running backs, third and fourth tackles, fighting a little bit of the injury bug. We got some guys coming back, which is good, and got some guys just, kind of getting their wings back under them, which is good. But and we're facing a 9-2 Vikings team who has definitely showed up at times in their home stadium. But just like everyone said, I just like the way everything has panned out for us, man. And I think I think my two keys for tomorrow's game is going to be inside the trenches on both sides. I think if our offensive line can hold up, pave the way for the running backs, I think the best way to really attack, in my mind, the best way to really attack this powerful Minnesota offensive team is just to keep them off the field. So to do that, we're gonna have to rush the ball tomorrow. Now without Breece Hall, without Breece Hall, we're more than likely. I know he's still technically there's a sliver of hope, but more than likely we're not going to be without Michael Carter. So we're asking a lot of Bam Knight and James Robinson and oh my God,
Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson. Good Lord, I just completely blanked
Best
out.
running back on the roster right now, Ty Johnson.
So So that is a lot, but I'm confident that, like I said, I I've watched the offensive line like with a real big old microscope and fine tooth comb over the past so many weeks, and I think the combination that we have going right now, for as bad as Lakin played early on, he's upped his game. He's improved. Our tackles situation, who starts tomorrow, I'm going to guess, and I don't know if it's the case or not. I'm going to guess that they're going to lean Max Mitchell with George Fant, there as a security because he is active. They did activate him. But I'm going to guess that Max Mitchell starts at right tackle. Dwayne Brown has been undervalued. He's been underhyped for what he's done in the run game so far. He's been a road grader. So and Herbig has played great, and McGovern is he's blocking his ass off. Both against the run and the pass. He's been outstanding this year. So you got to keep Daniil Hunter at bay. You got to keep Preston Smith at bay. That's it. That's the linebacker they got there, right? Preston Smith, the guy who played for the Packers last year. Am I right on that?
No. It is
the other backer.
Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius Smith, not Preston Smith. Preston Smith's still there. You're right. So you got to keep those guys at bay. So I think what happens with our offensive line is going to really pave the way to how we're able to maintain the ball and extend drives and really just keep their weapons off the field. In an ideal situation for me, I'd like to see 35 rushes.
Yes.
Give me 13 apiece between the three running backs, or 15 apiece between Brian Robinson and Bam Knight, and 5 extra in there for Ty. I think that's great, man. On top of that, our defensive line has to do it. We have to get home. That Minnesota missing Christian Darrisaw is going to be huge. Of course. Not only, Christian Darrisaw has played excellent this year. I'm not denying that. He's a great ball player. I think he's let up 1 pressure and 0 sacks all season, but his backup has been awful. So there's areas there. The middle of their offensive line is soft. So I think Q's going to have, I think Q and Sheldon Rankins and Solomon Thomas are going to have a chance to feast. And as we talk about all these defensive lines, do you guys remember early on in the summer when everyone was just besides himself when they were talking about this rotation? Yeah.
I was trying to defend it and I got shouted down.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm on the same boat as you, Tigo. I might have done it quietly. I might have passively defended it, but now it just makes so much sense, right? It makes so much sense. So I think if we can control the line of scrimmage on both ways, it's going to bode well for us both offensively. And if we can, do what we need to do on the defensive end with our or on the defensive side with our front four, and get home and add pressure and put hands in the face of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is gonna make his 1 or 2 Olay throws, falling backwards and getting the ball 30 yards across the field into somebody's hands. It's gonna happen.
He's gonna try to hit his interception quota.
Yeah, but I think if we can control the lines of scrimmage, I think we have a really good chance. And I'm going to say this. This sounds crazy, I know, but I'm more confident in this game going into 9-2 Minnesota than I was last game against the Bears. And I think that has to do with me not really being sold on what Mike White was going to bring to the table. And possibly a little bit of B too, the whole coin flip thing. Not gonna lie, I didn't think about the coin flip. Yep. But now that the coin flip's gone,
coin is dead.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty confident. So I think the X factor, like I said, is going to be can we control the ball? Can we control the line of scrimmage on both sides? And if we do that, if we control the line of scrimmage on both sides, Justin Jefferson's going to get his. You know, he's going to see a lot of DJ Reed. You know, he plays the left side. You know, we don't flip. You know, we don't follow. So he's going to see a lot of DJ Reed, and I think you're going to see him. You're going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see a lot of safety bracketed over the top. You know, giving DJ Reed a little help, which is fine. But if we're going to do that, if we're going to commit to, you know, having a safety bracketed over the top wherever Justin Jefferson is, we have to get home with our defensive front four.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're going to have to get home with our defense front four because it's going to limit the amount of times we can bring an extra body on the blitz.
I think
Well,
that's the most important thing is the D line. Ultimately.
I'll tell you if I like what you're saying, because when you tell me it's going to come down to the trenches on both sides of the ball, obviously the first thing I thought is, and Derrishaw is out, Fant is healthy again, which means at the very least we have him ready to come in because Dwayne Brown is scary because we know he's playing in pain. He's hurt. So it's like, you know, it's been like he's like a piece of glass out there. And we've been very fortunate that he's been able to hold it together and play. It's a nice, secure feeling to have Fant knowing he's healthy, knowing he's there to come in if Dwayne Brown can't do it. Which brings me to NCV Man's question, but like just in one more second, because I want to also point out, I think that if it really does come down to the trenches and comes down to offensive line, defensive line, and those matchups, I think we got this, you know, and I think it makes sense because it's not like they have a Justin Jefferson and it's not like we don't have a Garrett Wilson. It's not like we don't have an Elijah Moore and a Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we got our guys.
I mean, if you play the matchup game from position to position, okay, Justin Jefferson's the best offensive player that's going to step on the field tomorrow on both sides. No disrespect to our guys, but that's just what it is, right?
That is a fact.
You know, but so that alone probably skews the strength at the wide receiver position towards Minnesota, just what he brings to the table, right? But on the same token, their weakest outside of their offensive line minus Darisaw, their weakest position might be what they have across the backside of the defense and the defensive backs.
Yeah.
So we could take advantage. Their cornerbacks don't scare me.
Well, Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, Davis, whatever combination, might be better, like in the sense of looking at it from the perspective of against their defensive backs than Justin Jefferson is going against Sauce and DJ Reed.
You took what I was going to say away, which is the biggest thing here is that our offense is X times better than their defense, right? Because like if we go position for position, our offense versus their offense, they might win out the first spot on every single position down the depth chart, right? Like they have wide receiver 1 if we looked at all of them, but we probably have the next 3 or 4, right? Because I would take our 4 wide receivers over, and I love Adam Thielen, but he's old.
Yeah,
and KJ Osborne.
Adam Thielen, even at 33, 34 years old, is still something to worry about. He's not going to run by you.
No,
he's not going to run by you, but you don't think that he knows where the soft parts of our zones are going to be? You're damn right he's going to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like the point that I was making was that like our offense, and like if it's our offense is, let's say, for easy math, is 10 and their defense is 20, that's a 10 spot difference, right? Mm-hmm. That is still closer than what their offense is from our defense. That's the thing that I'm trying to say is if Minnesota's offense, which is absolutely fantastic, right? With Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook and TJ Hawkinson. I said this earlier. I think they're elite, at least one player at every skill position on the offense.
Yeah.
That being said, we are elite on every skill position, quote unquote, on the defense. And the gap between their offense and our defense is much, much smaller than the gap between our offense and their defense. And that's where I think the Jets match up really, really well. Because yes, they have Justin Jefferson, to answer Snowball's question, the best wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. we also have the best corner in the NFL right now in Sauce Gardner and another top 10, top 15 corner in DJ Reed. So it's not like they're going to face chumps. It's not like he's going to go out there and face, the New York Jets 3 years ago at corner where we didn't have anybody, right? They're facing an incredibly good defense. And while they have a really weak offensive line, we have an insanely good defensive line and an insanely good defensive line rotation. The real matchup that scares me is going to be not Justin Jefferson versus our corners, because I think we'll be there doing that pretty good. The matchup that scares me is TJ Hawkinson versus the middle of our field. And Adam Thielen in between the numbers, that's what scares me the most. Because since trading for TJ, he has caught in 5 or more passes every single game since they've traded for him. And he has been, for a majority of the games, the number 1 targeted player on the offense. And so they're really good at getting the ball to TJ between the numbers. And that's where I think we're the weakest.
If I'm an offensive coordinator who's lining up to play the Jets, I'm doing exactly like you talked about, Tigo. I'm attacking the second level of the defense, and I'm bringing a lot of people across. Copy New England. New England, game 1 against New England, I thought their offensive game plan was wonderful. Every pattern, they had crossing patterns going all over the place. Yes, it's easy to say in our zone, our guys are keen enough to know when to push off the receiver into the zone, but you get enough. If you overcommit by 2 steps, you're going to have somebody else zooming by you and crossing. And what I don't want to see is as much of a as proud as I am to say he's the captain of our defense. I think I've seen enough of CJ Mosley and man coverage on tight ends and running backs. Let him stay where he is, come downhill. I even like when they go into those Tampa 2 schemes and he drops back. You know what I mean?
To cover the middle. I love that.
That deep middle zone when they mug up and they have the 2 linebackers in the A gaps and you just see Mosley sprint back, because that's better than having him in man coverage. Now, on the same token, and what you said about Hawkinson, I think Hawkinson is definitely a variable. However, I think the lack of what they have on the offensive line is going to cause Hawkinson to be in line more, helping with the pass blocking, So I'd be more concerned of the Dalvin Cooks, of the Madisons coming out of the backfield, in those little hook flat routes that they have a tendency to run. Their offense is very similar to ours, same concept, same family tree. So they do a lot of the same concepts that we do, and they utilize their running backs in the passing game very, very well, and they're good at it, So as much as Hawkinson's come in and stepped in and been a factor, I would expect to see a lot more. I'd be more concerned. I'm more concerned about how we attack the running backs out of the backfield and kind of quell Dalvin Cook than we are Hawkinson, because I think we're going to see Hawkinson helping out in line more.
Here's the one thing I'll say to that, which is, and you said a part of the reason why I don't know, maybe that doesn't happen is because we Minnesota and the New York Jets, even though they came from different parts of the Shanahan tree, it is still all under the Shanahan tree, right? We literally just went to Shanahan and said, hey, give us your offensive guy, give us your defensive guy. We're literally just going to take your staff and we're going to bring it to New York because it works so well. And that's what we did. And Minnesota decided, you know what? We want what San Francisco is doing, but we're going to go the LA Rams route, right? And with getting Kevin O'Connell. And the one thing that I might throw in there as a wrench in that is, yes, we went and they have Kevin O'Connell, but one of the things the Jets, I think, failed to do when we were having a lot of struggles on the offensive line was to get the tight end involved in blocking at a high enough level in the pass game. Because I think what we tried to do was use the tight ends as the quickest out, right? Yeah. We had the running back was going to do their wheel route, but the tight end was literally just 2 steps and turn around and get ready for the ball just in case, and you're going to catch it and just fall forward kind of a thing so that we guarantee, for 3 yards because you fell forward. Yeah. And I have that fear that, if we continue to see the problems with wrapping up and tackling that we've seen over the last couple of games out of nowhere since the beginning of the year, that's where like TJ, like Dalvin Cook is obviously going to be a threat. Absolutely going to be a threat. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He is insanely good. But it's the same fears I have about TJ Hawkinson I have about Dalvin Cook. Like just between the numbers, like if you send Dalvin Cook on a Texas route, you're telling me that one of CJ Mosley or Quincy Williams is going to be covering him in the pass game. And that terrifies me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the point, which is like one of those two guys is going to have to cover TJ Hawkinson. One of those two guys is going to have to cover Dalvin Cook. And I don't like that matchup at all. And I love the matchups on the outside, but that's what scares me.
Well, they terrify a lot of people, regardless, not just our defense. I'm sure they terrorize a lot of defenses based on what you're saying, just because of the production they've gotten against those against the other defenses that they played as well. So
well, listen,
it's real. It's real.
And like I said, if we are high-low bracketed on the side where Jefferson is, you're going to have to – it's going to require the Quincy Williams and the C.J. Mosleys and the Quan Alexanders to play more man coverage. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ideal. I think our defense is best when we get home, our front four, the heavy rotation of those guys are causing havoc, and we can just sit back, you know, and we can sit back and we can play man match on one side – and, you know, cloud coverage zone throughout the rest of the field with our linebackers, you know, just sitting back there. Their strength isn't man coverage, you know.
Now, do you guys think, just to change a little, because I had this up here for a while,
Sure.
just wanted to pull back to it a little bit. Do you think there's I first of all, I believe Mitchell's going to start, and I think they'd be crazy to put Fant back in, the way Mitchell came back and played last week and the way he played when he was in. That being said, do you think there's a possibility? And by the way, George Fant's a perfect swing because he could do either one if either guy goes down. But you know, as far as experience, we know that he's played both. Do you think there's any possibility that there's any alignments where we line up six offensive line, like we line Fant up like a tight end blocking tight ends? Do you think there's any chance we see that happen?
Listen, I think anything's possible, and it's funny you say that because, you know, Fant was a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fant used to be a tight end in college. But, you know, listen, coming off of almost a full year of knee issues, I would guess, and coming off, you know, and Max Mitchell coming off a strong game in his first game back.
Yeah.
You know, albeit against Chicago, say, you know, call it what it is. That's the team that we had to face. But if it was the left tackle, if Max Mitchell was playing left tackle and Fant came back, I think you'd be more inclined to see Fant come back in and bring Max back into that backup role, you know. But Fant being not a natural right tackle and not having success there in year one with the Jets, I don't think that you're gonna. I just don't think you're gonna mess with the right side right now. Let Herbig and Max Mitchell get at it. Have Fant there for security. Have him there to back up. You know, he's going to be hopefully he's our third tackle tomorrow. I mean, I can't see us activating or bringing anyone else off the practice squad. I don't know if it was announced who are they we're going to bring up or activate. Not yet, at least. It's too early, right? I know I did see something that Hamsa's brought up from the practice squad, but I'm assuming that's to take the roster spot of Chaz Surratt, who injured himself.
Isn't that amazing? Chaz Surratt finally gets into a game. He plays. How many snaps did he play? Like special teams?
Yeah,
and he gets hurt.
He played special teams and 9 defensive snaps. And I really, you know what? I like the mindset of making that switch. He needed somebody who was a little bit more. I think they realized they needed somebody that might be a little bit more athletic on the defensive side. If you notice, also what they did a little bit more than they've done all season last year is we played a lot more big nickel. We had 3 safeties on the field a lot of times, you know.
But I have a question there.
Go ahead.
Regarding that, and then I'll answer the whole Fant thing. How much of that do you think was just the fact that we were up by 20 and we were testing stuff out? Because I also saw us throw out 5 defensive linemen, do the who's the defensive coordinator for the Giants? Why am I blanking out?
The guy
Wink?
from Baltimore.
Is it Wink?
Oh, the guy, Winkler.
Yeah, Wink Martin.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, right. The
Wink-
Wink package, as I like to call it, right? The 5 D linemen and the 6 defensive backs, no linebacker look. Like we did a lot of really unpredictable things against the Bears that I was just like, this is interesting and fun to look at. But how much of that was like it gave me off a vibe of like, it's the Bears. We're trying to see what this might look like against a non-Power 5 football NCAA program that we happen to be playing on this Sunday. What does that like coverage or scheme look like against this non-Power 5 school?
I didn't take it like that. I took it more so a little bit opposite. I think I think that was probably a lot of the Justin Fields package, is to have an extra safety on the field, kind of play that star rover, like hybrid safety linebacker thing, maybe a little bit of spy. But yes, we knew that Justin Fields didn't play. And I think that they probably just had some of this stuff schemed up. So they put it out there.
So they just called it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I got really like, that makes a lot of sense, but like playing the 3 safeties, we've been doing that a little bit, right? We've been kind of matching their personnel packages. Like if they're in 11 personnel, we bring out obviously, MC2, and I love that. And then if they go into like 12 personnel, we would bring out, Will Parks, because Will Parks is the biggest guy that we have in that defensive back room. I think he's the biggest guy, right? He's 6'2".
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think because what's Sauce? Sauce is 6'1".
No, Sauce is 6'3", but
Is he?
yeah, Sauce is
Am I
6'3".
wrong? Oh Jesus Christ!
But
Whatever.
He's a tall drink of water. He's like 6'3", 160 pounds.
Yes,
I'm making that up.
he's 6'3", 200. Yeah, you're right. Jesus, I didn't know he was 6'3". I thought he was like 6'1", 6'2". I thought I could have sworn up and down that Will Parks was the biggest guy in our defensive back room. He is not. Sauce is. Ashton Davis is 6'1". Why does he look 5'10" out in the field, man?
I know he looks, even in Jets One Drive, he looks short when he was
He
bowling.
looks small.
I just want to shout out Buffalo Jet fan. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. You must have really wanted to say this. Aside from the fact that he's Buffalo, he's the man. He's saying what you were talking about before. The Jets have a good defense and a mid offense, where they have a good offense and a trash defense on paper. Advantage us.
Yeah.
Their defense is very, very unique. Because it's a base 3-4 defense. Ed Donatel is in there, and he's got 3-4 in his bones, but they don't operate like your normal 3-4. They play a lot of soft or mid zones. Their whole personnel, their whole packages, their concept is really bend but don't break. They give up tons and tons of yardage. Now, I think it's more so, they're trying to, old school mentality is where, you have a defensive scheme that you want to run. I think about the Jets last year, for instance.
Yep.
We had a defensive scheme that we wanted to run. You knew Saleh was coming in and Ulbrich, and they had their scheme. We didn't have the pieces that fit that scheme perfectly last year, right? And we saw that. We saw what happened. There was a lot of games. I mean, Christ, how many, 100-yard rushers did we let up? How many times did we let up 400 yards of total offense, 500 yards total offense? So we're missing a little thing. So I don't think that they have all the pieces. I mean, like I said, the defensive backs are really, really soft. I don't know if Harrison Smith's playing. I know he's been battling an ankle to and from. The cornerbacks, I mean, are to even call them mid would probably be overstating what they are.
I'll give Patrick Peterson some credit for a 30,000-year-old man in his 5,000th season in the NFL. He's been having himself, I think, the best season that he could be having in the situation that he's been placed, right? I think that's the best way to say it. But like, I'm not scared of the guy. I can't even tell you what his name is on the other side.
Cam Dancer's on the other side. Andrew Booth, who their second round draft pick, he's out for the year. So I don't know now who's playing in the slot. Like I said, there's holes that you can attack, but to do so, to get some of that, to attack some of that stuff, that's why I said it's going to have to start up front, right? We're going to have to give Mike White the time to get there. And listen, we all can say, hey, Mike White just has to manage the game. Absolutely. That's not an incorrect statement. But I think he's going to have the opportunity to do more than just manage the game. He impressed the hell out of me. And I'll be the first to admit it. I was not sold or not a true believer in Mike White when they made the decision to go to him. I was under the impression that anything had to be better than what Zach was giving us, but Mike White, listen, he was very, very impressive. Not with the little intangible stuff, I saw, I don't know about you guys, I saw a lot of Chad Pennington in his game. I saw a lot of Chad Pennington, the way he processes and the way he thinks and the way he gets through his reads and the way his body works with his eyes. I saw a lot of Chad Pennington in this game.
Don't say that. I love Chad.
The accuracy in the short passing game, the way he splits the ball around, throws the ball, dimes, I remember Chad playing, and I remember that's what I liked about him. I remember that, and Chad reminded me, and everyone's going to hate this, but I'll say it because it's the truth. He reminded me a little bit of Phil Simms, and I say that because I watched Phil Simms a lot in the 80s, and a lot, because we grew up watching both the Jets and the Giants. Mm-hmm. And one of the things me and my brother used to always say is like every pass he throws is like a handoff. It's as secure and safe as a handoff because he threw perfect dimes anything within 15 yards. It was just here. That's what we used to say. Here. It was like he was handing the ball to the receiver because he threw dimes. And that's what Chad Pennington did. It was just dimes. He would just throw it right into everybody's chest. And that's what Mike White, when we've seen him for the most part, and a lot of what we've seen in just 5 games from Mike White, I agree, is like it's this thing where it's just dimes, like right into the people. Now, you did point out that his touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson was actually really scary.
Oh, man.
That second ball to Elijah Moore had me terrified. Not the touchdown pass, just the second one. Like, I was like, who, what, why? There are 3, what? And I was like, oh, he got it. Whew. Okay, like there was a lot of that. That's why I don't feel confident with the Chad Pennington thing, because Chad like threw such a soft, catchable, accurate ball near nobody. Like I was never scared of a Chad interception. Where Mike White on that game had some balls where I was like, dude, there are 3 like white jerseys or blue jerseys around this guy. What are you doing?
Yeah, but it wasn't some of those balls that he put into tight spots wasn't done with Zach Wilson-esque or Josh Allen-esque arm strength. You know what I mean? It wasn't just whizzed in. I mean, they were tight throws. And like I said, there's one of them where I could have swore it was going to be intercepted twice. And it didn't. Listen, did he play a perfect game? No, but it was damn near perfect. And as I watched the game, I was at the game, obviously. So, you can only take so much from sitting in the stands. But as I got home and I rewatched the game and then really broke it down in the in watching it on all 22, like you can see how his body works with his eyes. And when I say that is it's not just his eyes are processing and he sees something and he's on to his next read and he just, uses this wrist like Zach falling backwards, using his wrist to get the ball there. No, his body he's in a position to make a good competitive starting quarterback caliber decision and throw, no matter where it is. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, his foot, he's moving forward. He's driving the ball. You know,
It's stiff but loose at the same time, because this right is real stiff in the sense of, like, I think you said it perfectly, like his head and his hips, like his eyes and his hips are almost attached to one another, because I don't think I ever saw him throughout that game, watching it back, doing one of these. You know, it was always like his eyes and his hips were connected to one another. And I think that's a great point about Mike White and what he was doing really well.
I think I counted 3 passes that I would say were bad that he threw all last game. And how many passes did he throw? What, 31? 28?
I believe it's 28.
Yeah. I counted 3 passes that I think weren't, that I would like to see again. And I think he missed one opportunity also. Again, not we're nitpicking here, because the play I'm talking about is when he hit Bam Knight on that little swing pass that he made the linebacker miss and gained a first down, good 20 yards. But he had Denzel Mims streaking down the slot, right down the middle, and he just missed him. Safety was way off. He could have placed it in there. Linebacker, got it over the linebackers, no problem. He probably missed Denzel Mims for what could have been a touchdown. Again, that's might be a little bit nitpicking, because the end result of the play was a 20-yard gain. So it's hard. But
You always want 6, but
here's a question for you guys. I'll throw this to you, Jeremy, first, and then Tigo. All right. Forget about the whole concept of, just say, like, I'm of the believer right now, as constituted this team, we ride the hot hand, right? And if Mike White still plays like he did last game, or still continues to show that he can run this offense and so on and so forth, it doesn't matter how we get there. Say we get into the playoffs and we win a playoff game. I'm not talking Super Bowl. Say we win a playoff game. Do you consider Mike White the quarterback next year? If Mike White continues this, revelation that he's had in 4 starts with us, gets us to the playoffs and wins a playoff game, is he our quarterback next year?
I say we still bring in something that has potential, like not expensive, like if we can get something, like I mean, and I'm not even like if he plays that well, then I think we can go into next year expecting him and Zach to compete with each other.
Okay.
Like Zach is still there. We don't get rid of Zach. And then maybe, depending on cost, we bring in a Minshew, we bring in a Huntley from Baltimore, like we bring in another guy that showed they can play and compete. When they've had opportunities, like that's where I would stand. But we certainly shouldn't go out and spend crazy millions of dollars and screw up our whole cap and screw up our whole plan on a guy that's going to cost us $20+ million a year, $20 to $35 million a year.
So if we get into the playoffs and we win a playoff game with Mike White, you're still bringing in a, say, $6 million a year quarterback to challenge, even though that $6 million a year quarterback might be number 3.
I don't know.
I'm just throwing that, because Mike White's a free
I've
agent.
thought about this so much. Like this is constantly going through my head.
Mike White's a free agent. If Mike White leads us to the playoffs and gets a playoff win,
It's an $8 million.
you might have to pay him $10-12 million. I think if you pay him $12 million, you're saying, okay, it's your job to lose. I'm not saying that you don't compete with Zach. Zach's going to be on the roster. That's no doubt. And I'm not, and I'm not against that. Zach was the number 2 overall pick. Zach's young, and you got to give him. You want to give him a chance to prove that he can get through what he hasn't been able to show in the first 21 games he's played. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the way that I look at it is, all of the situation that happens goes through, right? We make it to the playoffs. He wins a playoff game and all of that stuff. I think what that does is guarantee that he's back on the team next year. But I am short of getting, you have to win multiple playoff games. And I mean, you have to be the reason we win multiple playoff games. Not like, you know how we were winning in spite of Zach? We can't be winning in spite of Mike White. And I'm not ready to anoint him anything. We played a non-Power 5 football school in the Chicago Bears last Sunday, right? Like, let's not get it like I want to see what Mike White is going to look like down the stretch here, because for me, the plan, if I'm the general manager, is we need to find Zach Wilson a Ryan Fitzpatrick, like in the Miami situation, right? They brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick, and if the wind was blowing the wrong direction, Ryan Fitzpatrick came in. If Tua blinked too many times in a minute, Ryan Fitzpatrick played, right? And we have to bring someone that can legitimately compete with and even beat Zach out for the job to really, I think, drive home his development. So if he does all of those things, if he wins 4 of the next 6 games and we make the playoffs and he wins a playoff game, I think what that means is Mike White is now being brought in to be seriously considered, because I don't think anybody was seriously considered this year, to be seriously considered as the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. And it's his job not only to win, but it will be every week his job to keep. And you keep the same thought process that you had mentioned with this year. You ride the hot hand. Whoever looks the best in practice that week, you ride that hand. And that's the way that you're going to have to do it, because it's great that the locker room loves Mike White, and it's great that Mike White won the Chicago game, but I can't unsee the Buffalo game. I just can't unsee it from last year. And I can't unsee the talent that Zach Wilson has. And that's the thing, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that he's looked great and then I'm a Zach Wilson truther. I'm not. I have no idea what the answer is. After the Patriots game, I was ready to preemptively buy a Derek Carr New York Jets jersey. Like, that's where I was. Now, that being said, I look at it and I go, Zach Wilson, if Zach Wilson just do the easy things, man, if he can connect his eyes to his hips and get the easy throws, he's got so much talent that, like, I want Zach Wilson to be the starter for this football team because he can be that good. And yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation moving forward, because Mike White can literally just be our Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, that's a realistic situation where he's just a quarterback that's just not going to lose you a game. But I have to see that first, because
do you know what throws me off though about everybody that keeps bringing up that Buffalo game with Mike White? Okay, first I want to say this. 3 of the interceptions, the meltdown happened when we were already down and the game was over. Like watch and look at the score of the game. Because Saleh even said it. They started pressing the ball. He made throws that he never would have made. It was basically, we lost the game anyway, so take a shot. And he was taking shots to try to do quick scores. That's first of all. Second of all, I don't understand how you could be like, we could be so obsessed, not just you, Tigo, even me. Like, we're so obsessed over this game he had against Buffalo. But Zach why aren't we obsessed over the game Zach had against New England? The 3 games that Zach had against New England. Why aren't we obsessed? Like why does Zach get all these free passes and excuses that we keep believing in him? Because I believe in him, and I understand, because he's the number 2 pick, fine. But Mike White, yeah, he had the bad game against Buffalo, but he also had 2 games that destroy anything that Zach has ever done on a football field, and I don't care who the opponents were. Well, and in Indianapolis, if he doesn't get hurt during Indianapolis, he was ready to go into a shootout with them. He looked like he was going to be the great Mike White that day too. He was on fire.
I'll say this: I don't care, and I don't think, and I think the benching of Zach last week, ultimately, and this week as well, and maybe for the rest of the season, who knows? That is yet to be determined. I don't care, and I don't think Robert Saleh and the rest of the Jets management cares whatsoever that he was the number 2 pick overall. You know, why I think Zach will get his fair share or fair shot to compete is because he's owed $9.3 million next year and $11 million the year after that. You're not getting rid of that money. You're not trading him as much as everyone says, oh, you can trade him. The value on him is so low. You're not trading away a 22-year-old kid. So he's going to be on this team for 2 years. You got to give him the fair share. I think his contractual obligations is going to give him a fair share. What he does with that, it's on him.
Yeah.
Right.
But
What he
also-
does with those opportunities.
The other thing that I look at, Jeremy, and the reason I'm more willing to forgive Zach, and it's not just the second overall pick or anything like that, right? It's also the fact that Zach is in his second year, right? Versus Mike White, who I believe is in his fifth year. He was a 2018 draft pick?
Yeah, but he had never taken an NFL snap until last year.
6 years of on the bench is still 6 years of on the bench. Aaron Rodgers didn't take a single snap for 4 years, right? Now, I'm just saying, like, that's my thought process is you were still in an NFL, on an NFL team, in an NFL weight room, in an NFL locker room, in NFL meetings, and all of that stuff. A 5th round pick, 1st round pick, like, I don't care. Experience is experience. It's the same logic that, like, a lot of people were giving what's it called? Who's it? George Fant, right? Oh, he's been in the league for like 7 years. Like, I was like, okay, but in 7 years, he had one good year. And that's why I wasn't a big fan of him. And I look at Mike White and I say, I'm not trying to take anything. Mike White should play this year. If it was up to me, I don't start Zach for the rest of the year. You ride Mike White, right? And that's just to kind of send a message. That's a very, very important, like, thing that I would do. But I'm not going to overlook the fact that he was this close to being in the XFL. Right? I'm not going to overlook the fact that he was a 5th round pick. I'm not going to overlook the fact that he has a limited ceiling. Those things are all true. And while in 4 games, he has given us 2 out of this world games and a Hall of Fame game in the Cincinnati game, I'm not going to forget the fact that it's not just the fact that we were behind in those games and we were doing these. He still had suspect decision-making when we played a good team. And while the New York Jets were bad, that doesn't change the decision-making. If it was interceptions where he's hitting receivers and the receivers are making bad plays or Mike White's fundamentals also broke down against the Buffalo Bills. Whether we were behind or not, his fundamentals broke down in that game, if you watch that game back. And so that's why I want Mike White to start.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong here.
I get it. And I have concerns too. Like, I'm not sold on it. I don't think Mike White is an all-pro quarterback. Like, I'm not sold on it. I'm nervous as hell. Like, even for this Minnesota game, I'm nervous as hell. I'm nervous that the other shoe's going to drop. Like, of course, because it's not impossible to imagine. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to imagine him putting up a stinker tomorrow. It really isn't.
Nope.
Because we don't know him and he hasn't played enough. So
it's 4 games.
They might look at his film and they might see a hole. They might see a way to, like, they might look at what Dom saw and saw ways to trick him, and they might pick him off 3 or 4 times tomorrow. So no, I don't trust them completely at all. But I certainly don't trust Zach either anymore. Like, you know what I mean? I don't feel good about Zach Wilson either. I want him to be great, just like you. I mean, we gave up a 2nd-round pick for him. You guys know I loved him when we picked him. I supported the pick. I've been a huge Zach supporter. But I'm not going to lie. He scares the shit out of me now. I don't trust him for shit. I don't want Zach Wilson in there in a big game. If he is, I want him to succeed, and I'll root like hell. But I'm going to be nervous as hell. Because both of these quarterbacks, Mike White doesn't have enough under his belt, and Zach Wilson just, has now created trauma for us watching him. I mean, it's been hard to watch. It's
the not enough good tape from Mike White and has bad tape, but in a very small sample size, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that we know he has a limited ceiling versus Zach Wilson, who has a very, very high ceiling if he can fix the stuff that he's doing, right? Mm-hmm. But we've seen some absolutely abysmal football, like in just against the New England Patriots. Like that's literally it, right? Just like against the New England Patriots, he's been absolutely horrible. And we've seen those things. And that's where I'm not sold on either guy.
I'm going to disagree with you there. And this, I want Zach to succeed.
Yep.
I do. I want him to succeed. But I don't think it's just New England that was bad. Zach had one good quarter against Pittsburgh. He was phenomenal that 4th quarter.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that he was good the other games. We were winning in spite of him.
Yeah, but he didn't play. And everyone talks about the Buffalo game. How he was very mid in Buffalo game. He didn't do anything to lose the game, but he didn't do much to help us win it either.
Yeah.
Maybe the throw to Mims, on third down. So, the proof is out there, and your description of Mike White, Tigo, it reminds me a lot of the same exact thing that everyone said about Tony Romo, right? Tony Romo, it took 4 years for Tony Romo to play. Coming from a small school, he played at, I think, Eastern Illinois or Illinois State or something like that. Mike White played at Western Kentucky. Finished his career at Western Kentucky. Limited ceiling, good fundamentals, limited ceiling. He'll probably a career backup, but he got out there and took the when given the opportunity, took the reins and ran with it. I'm not trying to say that Mike White's going to be Tony Romo, but I'm also not saying that I don't think that's a crazy, like him taking the reins and running with this thing. Now that he's got the opportunity, he's got the support. He's got the support of the locker room. Yep. They love him.
Yep.
They absolutely love him in the locker room. I don't know what he does. Maybe he makes, brownies for him every, pregame.
I was going to say baked cookies.
But these guys love him. He's played great. He's controlled our offense. He did things in that first drive against Chicago that we didn't see Zach do in I don't know how many games outside of Tampa last year.
Yep.
Maybe the first half of Philadelphia last year.
Again, it's not like me saying right now the best quarterback on the roster is Mike White.
Yeah.
That's a fact. I'm not arguing that. But the scouting report and the things that you look at him, and I'm not saying that we need a world beater at quarterback to win with our system and win with our scheme and to win with the players that we have. If Mike White can be, mid for his whole career and not cost us, $40 million and all that stuff. If he can be a $15 million quarterback, let's say he is the guy and he's a $15 million, that means that we're going to be able to surround him with some of the best talent ever and we'll constantly be competitive. It's just a matter of like I said, I haven't seen enough from Mike White to totally be sold on him. Yeah. Right. And that's the real thing. It's not that I don't like Mike White. I think Mike White is absolutely the starter for this football team right now. It is his job to lose. And I look at it realistically and in my soul. I think the first game that Mike White can legitimately lose his job as of right now is whoever we face in the playoffs in the first round. With Von Miller going down and Buffalo being absolutely annihilated and hurt, I look at this next 6 defenses that we're going to face and go, I have a hard time seeing if Mike White keeps playing the way that Mike White played. I have a hard time seeing him lose his job. And in the first round of the playoffs, that's a different conversation. But that being said, it doesn't change the fact that we can re-have this conversation in 6 games. Right. And then my opinion and my tune might change. If Mike White is going out there and slinging it and he's being safe with the ball and he's being the quarterback that we saw against the Chicago Bears, but against actual NFL football teams, I'm on board. Sign me up. Give me Mike White. I'll order my 5 jersey tomorrow. But I haven't seen that. It's 4 games that we've seen from Mike White. It's 4 games. And until I see more, I'm not ready to be sold on him. And I'm not saying that I'm sold on Zach either. I need to see Zach be way more improved if I ever want to give him a legitimate shot. But to me, it looks like the answer at quarterback currently isn't on the roster. As of right now, that's where my head is at. The guy who's starting under center for the New York Jets next year, and I like to think in those kinds of terms, is in the future of this team, not just the week that's coming up, but what does the future of the team look like? If I had to put money on it, the guy who's starting under center for the New York Jets week 1 of next year isn't currently on the roster. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it can be either Zach or Mike White because they're both here. We know these guys. We love these guys. And I don't want to go spend money on a guy when we can, go get a linebacker.
So let's talk about Mike White's ceiling. Let's say even against good defenses, right? I understand not every game is going to be the Chicago game, right? Nobody plays with a 149 quarterback rating consistently. So right. So let's throw that idea out the window. But let's say even with good teams, Mike White continues to be a guy like a Jimmy G who can complete 67% of his passes, right? Which is reasonable. Let's say he has a reasonable touchdown to interception ratio. Jimmy G right now, I think, is 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Nobody in San Francisco is falling on the ground, praising him like he's having such a great year. Kind of crazy right now. A lot of Niner fans think he's the one holding them back and blah, 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 and they don't like Jimmy G. But let's say Mike White is that kind of guy. Let's say he plays somewhat like that's the real quarterback that was against Chicago, but the numbers will come down because he's going to play against tougher defenses, right? But let's say he's a guy that in a season could throw 22 touchdowns with 5 or 6 picks. Let's say he's a guy that could have 67, 68% completion rate, and he's a guy that can throw for 3,200, 3,300 yards. On our team, isn't that good enough?
I don't care about literally any of the other things you said. You said 67% completion percentage. Sign me up. I don't care about yardage. I don't care about touchdowns versus interceptions. 67% completion percentage is 10 wins on this football team. That's it. If he can continue to do, right now, he's a 68.8% completion percentage in his 5-game career. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great, but it's a 5-game career.
Right.
It's too small of a sample size for me to
judge.
But if at the end of the season, he's at 68 he stays at 68.8, I literally don't care the yardage, the touchdowns versus interceptions. 68.8 with the weapons that we have on our wide receiver room and the guys that we're getting back on in the running game, sign me up. I'll take Mike White under center next year without batting an eye. I don't care about anything.
So that's why I'm saying let's not question his ceiling, because that would be
But that doesn't mean he has a crazy high ceiling. But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that he has a crazy high ceiling.
That would make him a middle of the road average quarterback, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Right? That would be an amazing story if Mike White turned out to be the 15th or 16th best quarterback in the NFL over the next 6-7 years, like a middle of the road quarterback. That'd be an incredible story.
Yeah.
And
do with that.
And I don't know that that's his ceiling. I don't know how to decide how big a ceiling a guy could have after a 5-day sample. What if he goes on to be phenomenal? What if he goes on like we can't understand it, but the guy's over 70% every game? What if
if he can be Tony Romo? Sign me up. I love Mike White. You telling me that you like again? It's just when you it's the looking of it. It's that inner like how much tape you watch and all of that stuff and everything like that, which is just like, there isn't much of it. Like, if you want to see a lot of Mike White, you have the small sample size that we have, the preseason, which doesn't matter, and then college tape from where did he go to college? South Florida and then Western Kentucky. Yeah. He played at 2 schools, and that was like close to a decade ago. So it's just like, there isn't a lot to base full true evaluation on. But when you look at the skills that he does put on tape, it does show a limited ceiling. But there are teams that are winning with limited ceilings all of the time. Geno has a limited ceiling. Tua has a limited ceiling. Dak Prescott has a limited ceiling. Mac Jones has a limited ceiling, and they went to the playoffs last year with him, but that was with a real offensive coordinator. Jimmy G has a limited ceiling. Limited ceiling guys does not mean bad quarterback and you're never going to win, right? Jimmy G went to a Super Bowl, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just one of those things where I'm not sold on him yet. And that's where I'm at. And I hope I get proven wrong.
And I understand. I don't think anybody should be sold on him. I don't. I think it's crazy to be sold on anybody who we've seen 4 or 5 games. I mean, we had people panicking, myself included, for about 5 seconds until someone calmed me down, that, oh my God, New England has the next Tom Brady because of Bailey Zappi, whatever the hell Bailey Zappi, whatever the hell his name is. So, I mean, it's a small sample, but I think it's a small sample for both. Now, I understand like in talent, like this, like obviously his ceiling cannot be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. People in the chat don't understand what you're saying. What you're saying is we know he doesn't have the athleticism of a Josh Allen and a Patrick Mahomes, but that's what you're talking about. You're not saying that it's impossible that he can't be a guy that's amazing in completion percentage, efficiency, and be a winning quarterback for years. Right? You're just saying when you say ceiling, you're talking about talent, pure,
potential,
unadulterated talent.
Yeah, it's like potential based on the talent level, right? And that's the thing, right? No matter how bad Zach is, you're not going to take away the fact that he's got a borderline elite athletic trait to just escape. Like, he also creates a ton of pressure and forces his own sacks sometimes, but he still has this insane innate ability to just escape the pocket and extend plays. Now, he doesn't do anything when he extends those plays, unfortunately, but he has that. Zach also has an insane arm and can just, throw the ball out of the stadium. That's how strong his arm is. Now, he hasn't done anything with that. And that's where I talk about ceiling and potential and floor and all those things.
Right. So
Zach was a boomer bust prospect, and it's looking like he's a bust.
Right. So it might be Zach Wilson clearly has more talent, but Mike White might be the better NFL quarterback.
Absolutely. And that happens all the time. All the time. Right. And 24 Resh makes a great point. So did Johnny Manziel, and it didn't work. I'm not saying that guys with talent always work out. They don't. They more often than not don't. Getting the quarterback right is the hardest thing to do in football. I think the rate is 80% of quarterbacks taken in the first round in the modern era don't work.
Yep.
I think that's the number, right? 80% of quarterbacks taken in the first round in the modern era haven't panned out to be at NFL starting quarterbacks. That's a crazy thing to think about.
I went through this when I was on Green Bean Show last week or something like that. We went through all the quarterbacks that were taken in the top 5 I think since 2010. And the hit rate is just abysmal, right? Yeah. Abysmal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You're right. The quarterback if you can find your quarterback and you can draft if you draft the right guy, it just sets you up so much better. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's crazy. We haven't had that luck yet, and maybe Zach proves us wrong, and he's that guy. After 21 games or 20 games, whatever he's played, do I think he can turn it around? I do. I still do. I believe in the kid. But the thoughts that he is our franchise quarterback, that's waning.
That's gone for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here trying to say 100% that he is, but again, his ceiling is higher. That's the reality of it. I'm looking at it right now within guys that were taken in the top 5. Obviously, there's Kyler Murray, Marcus Mariota. I can't believe it was taken 2. I forgot about that.
Listen, I mean, Marcus Mariota, you can justifiably say that that's a miss, right?
Yeah.
All right.
It's a miss from where he was picked for sure.
Yeah, we're talking top 5. Tua.
Sam Darnold. I have the list right here if you want to go. Sam Darnold's the next one in order of football teams. He was taken number 3 overall. That's a miss.
Baker Mayfield.
Miss.
Jared Goff was the next one. Started. Boom. He was the first overall pick in 2016.
You forgot Baker.
Oh, yeah. Baker's there too. Yeah.
Baker was a miss. Jared Goff, he won a Super Bowl. Is that a miss? Or is
because you win one, you can would you consider him being a one-hit wonder, a hit?
I'd probably, if I had to, put money on hit or miss for Jared Goff, I'd probably say miss. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback, if that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no.
I don't think there's many.
If you take a quarterback, what we're talking about is you take a quarterback in the top 5, you want them to be the franchise guy, the guy that one team is going to stick with 10, 15 years, that's going to Super Bowl or not Super Bowl, but you know what I mean? But they're your guy. Obviously, you have to put the right team around them, but they're your guy. They're a top 8 in the NFL quarterback at least 4 or 5 seasons. You know what I mean? Like they're the guy. Goff
Of
is not that.
32 of
Goff is not
32 NFL teams, 7 of them have top 5 picks at the quarterback positions. Far more teams have quarterbacks who are starting games who were taken outside of the top 15 or like outside of the first round than there are of quarterbacks taken, I think, in the first round. You can't count Chicago because it has Trevor Siemian listed here, but Justin Fields is hurt. But you got Jacoby
quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks, like quarterbacks that are starting NFL games right now that were drafted in top 5. It's few and far between. There's Jared Goff, there's Joe Burrow, there's Tua Tagovailoa,
Kyler Murray,
Kyler Murray,
either Baker or Sam.
Well, Sam's a starter, so there's Sam.
Trevor Lawrence. That's it.
Over the past 10 years, we're talking here, guys.
And a lot of those guys that we listed, we're not sure are guarantees.
Marcus Mariota, because he's starting also.
Oh yeah. But like none of like Kyler Murray is starting to make that contract look bad, right? Like it almost looked like they paid him too early. And I'm gonna have to see him with whoever the new head coach is next year. Because Cliff is gone on Black Monday.
I would lean on the side that both Trevor and Kyler are franchise quarterbacks. I think that they'll both. Well, Kyler's already gotten paid. I think Trevor will get paid when he's due, and I think they're going to be the faces of their franchise. I don't think they have to look for quarterbacks. Put it that way. So
I think when you look at Trevor's circumstances, who his coach was last year, the way this team is building, when you look at his circumstances and what he's doing, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine. He's their franchise quarterback for sure.
Yeah, and I'd say the same with Kyler. You know, he's not my style.
I'm not sold on
Kyler.
Kyler Murray's not my style of quarterback, you know, but again, the proof's in the pudding. He's one of the best that gets under center right now.
You know what my problem with him is?
I didn't know Matt Ryan was the 3rd overall pick.
You know what my problem with him is? And it's funny, yeah, Matt Ryan, I didn't know that either, because Matt Ryan was good from rookie year. I remember him being good
2008.
right from the start.
Matt Ryan was an excellent quarterback. Matt Ryan's old. What is he, 36, 37?
I didn't count him in the list because I think he's not a bust.
No,
he's just a million years old. Like, what do you expect from a million-year-old quarterback?
Are you kidding me? Let Zach Wilson become Matt Ryan. Oh my God. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Oh,
give me that all freaking day.
Where do I sign?
Where do I sign for that? But I think the problem I have with Kyler Murray, and I could be wrong. It's my opinion right now. I want to say that it's just my opinion. I could be wrong about this, but if I have a guy and there's a minute 40 seconds left, or if there's 8 minutes to go in the game and we're down by 13 points and we need a guy that's going to take us on 2 drives, airing the ball out, no time to run, you have to throw and stay to the air. So many games come down to that, right? Where you can't run, you're going to have to do it through the air. I don't trust Kyler Murray that much. Like, I'm not saying he's the worst in the league, but he's not exactly, to me, a top quarterback in that situation. And I want a guy under center that's the situation I want them to be at their best. But all the great quarterbacks are like that.
But that's the thing, and I think this is the big problem when we look at the lens of quarterback, is that there are 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks in any given generation of quarterbacks, right, that carry football teams. There are 3 or 4 of them that, independent of whatever's around them, they carry their football teams. There are 3 or 4 of those guys ever at one point. There are far more quarterbacks in the NFL that need to be in the right system for things to work out than there are quarterbacks that are so good that they they supersede a system. And that's a thing, I think, a problem that a lot of people look at when they look at the quarterback through the lens of a quarterback, because Trevor Lawrence is going to be, in my opinion, a good quarterback in the NFL, but I don't think he's going to be the guy who's going to single-handedly win them games. From what I've seen in the last 2 years, he's not going to be the Patrick Mahomes when it comes down to it. You just put it on Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter who's his wide receivers. It doesn't matter who his running backs are. He's going to make the throw. what Tom Brady was the last couple of years in New England. I swear they were signing fans off of the stands on one-day contracts to be wide receivers, and he was still throwing people open, right? There are 3 or 4 of those guys ever at one point in the NFL. And the problem is that when people evaluate quarterbacks, they evaluate them and compare them to that. Where if you'd asked a general manager, hey, you have the number 1 overall pick, and we can guarantee you 100% that guy that you're going to draft is who's a middle of the pack quarterback that isn't named Kirk Cousins. So
Middle,
like top 15, but not top 12
right now this year.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
Again, that's a great name, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if you can say you have the number 1 overall pick and you get to take a quarterback, right? And I can guarantee you that he will always be a top 15 quarterback, but he will never be a top 12 quarterback. They'll take that every single day. If you can guarantee it, they'll take that every single time over the guy that you say that has a 10% chance of being the best quarterback in the NFL.
I disagree with that. I disagree.
Tannehill's
wholeheartedly. Just like with all due respect, I don't think so. I think there's some general managers who, in this day and age of analytics, they look for that one. They would, if you're going to choose that quarterback that high, right? You're not going to say, okay, Ryan Tannehill is going to, he's going to throw for 3,000. He's going to get me 18 touchdowns. He's going to probably throw 13 interceptions. He'll average 200 yards a game. That'll be just good enough. I'll take him. I don't think so. I think they're going to
come at 8.
Again. I think they're gonna reach for the guys like Zach who have that wow factor, who have that elite trait that could take them from that Ryan Tannehill level, and beyond. Yeah,
I'm not saying, but
Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they're anomalies in this thing because they're on a completely different level.
And that's a great example, Resh, right? And it's they settled them back-to-back like quarterbacks, right? They had been trying to find the guy for years, and then they stumbled upon Tony Romo, and Tony Romo was great for them. And then they stumbled on Dak, and Dak's been good for them. Now, Dak, in my opinion, is not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Right? But he's probably top 15, in that range. Dak Prescott is a perfect example of the quarterback that I was trying to list, right? He's not going to single-handedly go win you a football game, but he's also more often than not going to be the reason you lose a football game. And that's my thing, where it's just like, that's how I look at those guys. And so I never liked it when we looked at the lens of a quarterback through the lens of, is this guy going to be a franchise carrying guy? Dude, there are 3 of those guys. In the NFL right now, there are 3 of those guys. Patrick Mahomes. Who else?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. I'll give you Josh Allen. Well, Josh Allen's starting to fall off of that right now. He's not looking good.
It's a midseason slump.
Josh Allen is elite.
He is, but that doesn't change the fact that he is having a midseason slump. It's that potential. I'm kidding, right? I'll give you Josh Allen, and then who else? I like to think Justin Herbert. I really like Herbert, but he's not there yet. He's not there yet.
The only problem I have with Herbert, the only concern I would have with him, and it's not that big of a deal because he's good enough already, is, and tell me if I'm wrong, it doesn't feel like he's gotten a lot better since his rookie year. He started out really good, and he stayed that way. Do you see him getting better each year since he started, or do you think he's been a straight line?
I'll tell you this. I think of any team in the NFL, the LA Chargers are a bunch of frauds. They are the most fraudulent team. They get the most hype and the most praise thrown their way for doing or accomplishing the absolutely mid. Justin Herbert's talented, not knocking that, but
I don't like that coaching staff in the. I think they're doing bad things for him.
The coaching staff is awful. The defense is awful.
The game plan on offense is awful.
Eckler's a good player, but the offensive line has been garbage.
They're shocking because they spent money on that offensive line and draft picks. So it's shocking that they're so bad.
So there's 2 guys right now in the NFL that are franchise carrying quarterbacks. Well, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. That's
What
it.
about Burrow?
No,
I'm not putting Burrow there yet.
He's
Think
been
of what
lights
it
out.
depends on what you think of Burrow.
He's been
Listen, I
lights
hate
out.
to say it. It depends on what you think of the look at the season that Tua's having.
I don't want to take anything away from Joe Burrow, and Tua's been having an excellent season. It's probably going to get MVP votes. But how much of, and we won't know until after he gets his first contract, and that's the real thing. Burrow has 3 wide receiver ones on his football team that he's throwing the ball to, and that's a big deal.
He's lucky. He's great for him.
And Joe Mixon is a top 5 running back, and Samaje Perine's probably a top 20 running back as a backup. He's doing great. Like, he's surrounded with so much elite talent, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Burrow. Burrow is awesome. But am I willing to say that Burrow is a franchise carrying quarterback when he's been surrounded with franchise carrying talent? They might be. But until I see Burrow getting it done without all of those guys around him, that's when that's like Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and all those things. And this was the first year that I said that he's a franchise carrying quarterback because he doesn't have those weapons anymore. Tyreek Hill went to Miami. They don't have a wide receiver room that's super scary. All they have really as a weapon in Kansas City is Travis Kelce, and that's one hell of a weapon. Like, don't get me wrong, it's the best tight end in football right now. But that being said, he's still finding ways to make those plays and make those passes and get the ball to the guys and winning games convincingly without having a world-beating wide receiver room. And the same thing goes for Tua. How much of Tua's success is that scheme and the fact that Tyreek Hill is the fastest human on the football field whenever he's on the football field?
Okay, what about Ablab is saying, what about Lamar for Baltimore?
I am a self-admitted Lamar hater. I won't deny it. I am not the biggest fan of Lamar. If you wanted to put Lamar in that conversation, do it. Go ahead. I can understand why you're doing it.
Listen,
I'm not.
You can argue until the cows come home on who's elite and who's not. Yep. I think that Mahomes and Allen are 1A and 1B, whichever way you want to put them.
Yep.
And they're on a tier by themselves.
Yep.
There's other great quarterbacks.
Yep.
Burrow is great. Lamar is great. Justin Herbert is great. Who else am I missing off the top of my head? And those guys are franchise quarterbacks for sure.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if that makes any of them elite. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are elite.
Yeah, and that's the point that I was making, right? Those are the only 2 guys that are elite that carry a franchise.
Deshaun Watson is great, and he has a chance. He had a chance and probably still has a chance to be elite, but he hasn't played in 2 years.
That's why I'm not going to touch the Watson. I saw someone bring up Watson in the chat, and I'm like, dude, the guy hasn't played football in 2 years.
So, yeah, well, he has to re-earn it.
Yeah. Like, you got to, right now, he is a mid quarterback as far as I'm concerned.
There's a difference, I think, between a franchise quarterback.
I love that picture.
There's a difference between a franchise quarterback and an elite quarterback.
Yes. Because there's like 24 franchise quarterbacks in the league right now.
I don't know about that, but
there's only 2 elite quarterbacks. You don't think there's 24 franchise quarterbacks? Like, quarterbacks that you can have it under center and you can go win games with?
I mean, if you're saying that, you're saying guys like Geno is a franchise quarterback. I don't think Geno's a franchise quarterback.
I don't think Geno's a franchise quarterback. But I guess I get what you're saying. Yeah, 24 might be a bit rich.
If you knock off the worst 8 quarterbacks, guaranteed, you can't say they're franchise quarterbacks right now. If you knock off the worst 8, Geno's not in that worst 8. Geno's probably right now mid. He's a good quarterback. He's not a franchise quarterback.
I mean, but I think Ballsby Hurton has a good ball of that name has a good point. Burris took Cincinnati to a Super Bowl with that horrible offensive line. After he was hurt, he was injured his rookie year, then he comes right away and he helps him do a Super Bowl run. And I know he's got great receivers, but come on, man, no offensive line. How is he not a franchise quarterback?
That's not what we said. He is a franchise quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback.
Okay, not yet.
Yes, he has the potential to be an elite quarterback. I didn't say that he's not going to be. But what I'm saying is when Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd are more often than not better than whoever's covering them. It's the conversation. Remember when they took Jamar Chase? They had what, pick 4? What was it? They had pick 4, right?
Who?
The Cincinnati Bengals when they took Chase. Was it 5?
Yeah.
So the conversation for them was, do they take Jamar Chase or do they take Penei Sewell? And that was the whole debate all year. And the conversation became, do you give Joe Burrow an extra beat in the pocket, or do you give Joe Burrow the ability to get the ball out a beat faster because Jamar Chase is going to get open a beat faster? And that was the conversation. And we saw what happened. Even with a horrible offensive line, he was able to get the ball out really quickly because his wide receivers were open constantly. And they've got a really good run game with Joe Mixon. Again, I'm not taking anything away from Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow. I love what he does, how he plays, and the moxie that he has. The guy's got moxie coming out of his ears. But elite, with that level of talent around him, it's hard to measure elite when you've got that much talent around him.
It's so funny because it's like, if you're not one of those elite guys, well, okay, so you got your 2 or 3 elite, and then you got your top 8, right?
Yep.
That people can argue all day, like if they're elite or not. But like we all agree on the top 8. We're all going to say Burrow, Lamar, Justin Herbert. Like we're all going to name the same 8 guys if you have to name 8, right? That's much easier. And then Patrick Mahomes and everything, and Josh Allen. You argue they're the elite ones. That whole thing is fine. It feels like everybody else, except for very few, sometimes they have quarterbacks. Everyone else after those top 8 are quarterbacks that you're never happy with long term. Like the Raiders were happy with Derek Carr for a while. Now they're not so happy with him. The Niners thought they had the next Tom Brady and Jimmy G. Now they're not happy with him, even though his numbers are very good, I want to say. It's interesting. It's really hard to be really satisfied as a fan. You have a very small percentage of chance to be really, really happy with your quarterback.
Yeah.
And if you're a New York Jet, how have we ever had? Because even when we had Brett Favre, we knew that was a rental. Like, have we ever had a young, good franchise quarterback? Except for, obviously the Pennington thing didn't work out because of the rotator cuff injury, and we had Ken O'Brien for a while. But I mean, and that was an injury thing too. And Testaverde, again, we got him in his prime. He had a few good years, but it wasn't like a 10-year run with us. Like, we've never had that kind of guy. Like, we've never had a Justin Herbert or a Burrows. Like, we've never had a guy at even that level that for 5-10 years we got a guy that's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
But it's that trap that the grass is always greener, right? Like it's the how Jimmy isn't going to be back in San Francisco next year. Like, that's a guarantee.
Right.
He's going to leave. And so now San Francisco, and it's going to be funny like next year, because San Francisco is going to have to run Trey Lance. Like, they can go sign another quarterback or anything like that, but they gave up so much draft capital to go and get Trey Lance, right? Yeah. That you have to run him at this point. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
But their fans are going to feel so stupid because all they do every week is, like, I watch their sites because, I have my site. Yeah. So I watch what the 49er content guys are saying. They're like, all they do is bitch about Jimmy G and how he sucks. They hate him. And it's because they're going to feel so stupid when he's gone, and they can't win a freaking game. They're going to feel so stupid.
It's going to be, I think the same thing is going to happen to people with Derek Carr and the Raiders. The Raiders fans they're not that they're upset, but they're like, Derek Carr is a big reason this team isn't successful, blah, 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 blah. And my thing is like, this might be me looking at the New York Jets with Gotham green colored glasses. I will admit this before this take. But it almost seems like Derek Carr on the New York Jets can probably take us to a Super Bowl. Like, I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Well, Derek Carr steps into the New York Jets, and he's the best quarterback we've had since Joe Namath.
Yeah, absolutely. But, like, that's absolutely true.
maybe even arguably Jimmy G, right?
But Jimmy's in that same conversation. And then
Jimmy-
Jimmy comes here, takes us to the Super Bowl, and then San Francisco is going to be like, why wasn't he this quarterback with? He was. You guys just didn't. You guys had to stare at Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and all of these other teams that were also considered great with the San Francisco 49ers. And you're looking at it and you're going, the grass is greener on the other side. We should just trade up to 13 and hope that we find Patrick Mahomes. Right? He was 13? 10. It was 10. It's the grass is always greener on the other side kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
Arguably, it's what I'm doing with Mike White. Like, that's a real thing that, like, if I'm having a self inner look, it's a thing where I'm looking at it and I go, yeah, Mike White can, but
I mean, it's the same.
Jimmy G, Derek Carr, Zach Wilson's potential. Like, and I can see that I'm doing that, but I'm not writing him off yet.
And by the way, it happens with all sports. There's so many instances where the player is desirable for everybody else in the league. Everybody else in the league would love to have that guy, right? And the team that has him doesn't appreciate him and thinks, just get him out of town. I couldn't care less. And then they don't realize what they had. And then when they lose him, their team stinks, right? I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, it's like, and then some people, it's true. Like, some people are overrated to the rest of the league, and the people in the team, though, like in baseball, that happens a lot. Like Darryl Strawberry. Everybody else thought he was this god, and Met fans knew, yeah, he's good sometimes, but sometimes he's really bad. He strikes out, and then he goes to LA and he stunk for the Dodgers, and he didn't really have that great of a career. I mean, there's lots of examples of they seem better than they are, and people that have the player, since they see the good and the bad, not just the highlights, they're the least excited about a player. Like, very often they're less excited than people on the outside looking in.
It's because everybody, there's more teams that don't have Jimmy G than have a quarterback that's better than Jimmy G. That's the reality of it, right? And San Francisco is a Super Bowl contending team. They are currently my favorites to come out of the NFC. They're my NFC representation for the for the Super Bowl right now. I like them more than Philly and the Cowboys, and I just really like what San Francisco is doing as a team and as a roster. I like what they have over there, and that's it. But there are more teams below what Jimmy G is as a quarterback in the NFL that are looking up like, man, if Jimmy G was just on our roster, we would be legit. Then there are teams that are above them looking down saying Jimmy G, and San Francisco fans are putting themselves in the conversation of one of the top 5 teams in the NFL, which I think they should absolutely be in. But when you have yourself in that competition and the quarterbacks that you're comparing yourself to are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and those are the guys that you have to compete with, it's hard to say quarterback versus quarterback that you feel that confident in your guy when you're comparing your team to the Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes of the world. And that's what's happening. You're just getting sucked into the trap of that, where, like, a great example is the New York Jets aren't getting sucked into that trap, right? We're comparing our quarterbacks to the guys that are in the middle of the pack, and Mike White is arguably just as good as any of those middle of the pack quarterbacks, because honestly, we have been so starved for a good quarterback for, ever, that we'll take middle of the pack because we know that the rest of the team is that good. That's why we're more willing to take a guy like a Derek Carr or a Jimmy G or Mike effing White doing what he does than anybody else.
Yeah, and Mess comes in and says, Lee Cravatt, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes are the elite ones.
Yeah, love it.
The Mahomes, man. I tell you, I mean, talk about our luck, man. 2017, everyone, the Jets had brought in Mahomes a lot, and there was a lot of grumblings that he was very, very high on their board. And
imagine
Bowles and McCagnon wanted to fix that defense and let Josh fucking McCown play. Can you believe that? Knowing McCagnon had his eye on the quarterbacks of the 2018 draft.
No,
there's so many of those. Like it's
crazy. To me, it's mind-boggling. And the crazier thing is, like, you rewind a couple years before that. Rex Ryan's here, and he called. I saw this on a podcast not too long ago that he called Travis Kelce and told him, "Hey, you're going to be our pick." The only way you're not going to be our pick with our early second round pick is if Geno Smith's on the board.
And Gino's on the board.
Geno was on the board.
We
could have
Kelsey tells that story too.
Oh, does
Kelsey
he?
told that story on his podcast with his brother that he does.
Yeah.
Excellent podcast. I think it's called New Heights. If you're ever bored and you've watched everything on my channel and everything on Jeremy's channel twice over and you want to go listen to something else, the New Heights podcast between Jason and Travis Kelsey is absolutely fantastic. But Travis Kelsey tells that story where Rex called him and said that he was going to be the pick 100% unless Geno was on the board, and Geno was on the board, and so we didn't take him.
Guys, we have to wrap up. So what I want to do is first I want to thank you both for being on. This was a great show out of nowhere, at least in my opinion. I thought this was great. So I appreciate you. I want to tell everybody in the chat, everybody listening that's not participating but listening, and everyone that's going to listen to this later, thank you for your support. It means a lot. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We couldn't have this without you. So again, it's just really want to appreciate everyone. Tigo, thanks for coming on when you did, and you've been great. Even if people don't agree with your takes, you always say what you feel. You're always honest, and I respect and appreciate you so much for that. And Dom, you know how much I respect your knowledge and everything. I learn from you every day. And man, I just appreciate you guys tonight. So thank you so much for making this such a great show.
Absolutely.
And is there anything you want to say, Tigo? You got anything coming up people should look for?
Really, the only thing that I'll say is obviously Talking Jets with Tigo. It's boom. There's the channel. We're doing a 2,000 subscriber giveaway. We're giving away a jersey of your choice, whatever team, whatever player. Don't care. You just got to let me know, and I'll order it for you and ship it to you. And then the only other thing would be obviously the Talking Jets with Tigo podcast. It's something that I've spent a lot of time on, and comes out every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. There is a phone number that you can call to leave voicemails. Would really, really appreciate voicemails and stuff, because it's an interactive show and everything like that.
All right. And how about you, Dom? Any articles or anything?
I got an article coming out. It'll be posted on Wednesday on greenbeanjetsfan.com. Outside of that, man, I'm just looking forward to some good football tomorrow. I feel confident. We win. We run in the trenches. If we win in the trenches, I think we got a good chance. Go Mike F. and White.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong on the Mike White stuff and that he's awesome.
And guys,
I do have one thing. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
No, go ahead. I
apologize. But you'll hear it from Jeremy because I'm gonna push him to promote it as well. But I am coming out with a 2023 draft guide. It's in the works. It's already probably 118 pages deep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really? Oh man, I'm so excited.
So we're going deep into a lot of the prospects and so forth. I don't want to jinx anything and start talking draft now, but I do want to say that is in the works. So be prepared to see that and have that available. Jeremy and Tigo will get courtesy copies without a doubt. So I look forward to that, man. That's the stuff that kind of gets me ticking. So
I've just now started to make my list of players to start watching.
I can't wait to share my thoughts on these prospects with all you guys.
Okay, guys, that's beautiful. I love it. I'm looking forward to getting that. That's going to be awesome. Guys, I'll be not so long, 13 hours from now and 20 minutes, I'll be on Green Bean Jets Fan and Jets Nation. It's played on both channels with Green Bean. We'll be doing the watch party. Join us live. It's a great time. You haven't seen anything and just see my reactions to shit. It's just absolutely off the charts. And guys, again, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody in the chat. We'll see you soon. I hear my wife screaming the food's here, so it's perfect timing. Take care, everyone. Good night.
So long, guys.
Oh yeah! Go! Amazing! That's my boy! That's my boy!
Breaks away from a sack and completes the pass for first down.
Oh, Kittle just may have made the most amazing catch.
He fights for the first down and gets out of bounds too.
It's no good. Overtime. Oh, what a catch! How do you drop that? What are you, Jamal Adams? Touchdown!
This is a touchdown all the way!
He reached over the pylon. San Francisco beat Cincinnati.